Steven Interviews You. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Steven Interviews You. My name is Stephen Vitt, and this is a series where I sit down and have a good chat with very special guests, and their names would be, introduce yourselves.
We'll go in order that we normally do on the show. I'm Dan Rocketman Savage.
I'm Nate, the Texas Rocket.
And I'm Kyle W.
Welcome to the show, everybody. And this is going to be the first time I'm going to be interviewing three guys at once. So bear with me here. So let's just get started here. The Midnight Blue and Gold Launchpad, your YouTube channel, where it covers everything Toledo Rockets. Tell me how it all got started, the backstory of it. What got it going in the beginning?
Yeah, I could probably tell this story. So one of our other hosts, Pat PJ Spiller, is my father-in-law, and we were watching Pack after dark. It was like 11 o'clock, and I'm not gonna lie, we were both a little drunk on the couch, just hanging out. And I mentioned to him, I was like, "There's literally not a podcast that covers Toledo that's fan-driven," and I was like, "Why don't we do it?" And his best friend from college, Ryan Brandt, the other host on our podcast, at the time worked for WTOL as like a sales director, and Toledo was one of his accounts. But for years, he worked for like Dayton News. He worked out of Pittsburgh. He was a sports analyst. So he had a ton of training on the mic, ton of training on the camera. And obviously that's why he's our main host, because I mean, he's rock solid on the mic compared to the rest of us. But yeah, so it started off with the three of us, and we've had a few members drop out over the years, but I brought on Texas Rocket. Him and I went to school together. We played high school football at Bedford High School, just north of the Ohio line here. And we met Dan Rocketman Savage through one of the games, right, Dan?
I don't know. It's I've always been very vocal on the social medias. So Rocket Ryan was about the loudest other fan you could find on Twitter and Facebook. And we actually ran into each other at the MAC tournament when the women went to the NCAA tournament in 2022. And then you guys just asked me the next football season, like, do you want to come in for a guest spot?
Yeah.
And you guys ended up keeping me around. So glad to be here.
He did such a great job, and I mean, he's easily the most knowledgeable out of Toledo. What's going on in the MAC? I mean, just Dan's been a great asset to bring on the podcast. So he's been with us ever since.
Thanks, Kyle. My knowledge of Toledo goes back to a wee little boy. The basketball arena is named after my grandfather. Savage Arena. My Aunt Kelly is the greatest three-point shooting player in women's basketball history at Toledo. You know, my dad went to grad school there. He played basketball growing up. So I've always been a diehard. I worked for the football team from 2012 to 2015. So I've seen a lot of locker rooms. I've been to a lot of stadiums. And I just kind of wanted to keep it going. I actually hosted a Group of Five podcast before the Group of Five guys were around, and it was called the Great Five Podcast, but very low quality. It was just me, going through the games, going through the players. But Kareem Hunt was the man back then when I was doing that. So we had some fun times in 2015, 2016 roundabout years. But now it's just still kind of covering the Group of Five a little bit, getting to know other MAC fans like yourself, Steven, and spreading the good word about Toledo Rockets athletics.
What about you, Nate?
Yeah, so I mean, Kyle and I grew up right across the border in Michigan from Toledo, literally a 5-minute drive. And growing up, I've always just been a huge football fan. My grandparents used to take me to the games. I used to have this thing called the Rockets Kids Club. And you basically got into the games for free if you were, I think, under like 10 or 11. I think you were free. So I always had that growing up. So I'd always go. I think my first game as a Rockets fan was in 2003 versus Liberty. So until they stopped printing them, I used to keep all like the paper programs from every game I went to and stuff. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I've always just been a Rocket fan, and I just love college football. And I'm trying actually to go to every D1 stadium and see a game. I think I'm at like 58 right now, so on my way, but still have a lot to go. But yeah, I just love college football.
Yeah. So sticking to the Toledo Rockets, University of Toledo, sports in general, not just football. What are some of your favorite moments? You guys can go in any order, and you can keep it to any sort of list. What are some of your favorite moments in Toledo Rockets history? Football, basketball, anything?
Hmm. Hey, Kyle, I say we just keep the order going. You go first, and we'll just go you, me, and then Nate, so we can keep this
Right. Go ahead.
on time.
I mean, my favorite moments. I went to Toledo for 3 years, and so that back then, 2010 to 2012, 13, the student section was still filling up pretty solid every game, and I mean, every game was just a blast to be at. That's probably where I got hooked on Toledo, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, obviously, Toledo was unstoppable from 2000 to 2005. That's kind of like when I remember, I was 6 years old in 2000. The 2003 Pittsburgh game, I remember the goalpost coming down. That one was awesome. As I got a little bit older and could really understand the game more, I would say 2011 when we played Boise State, the best gold out I've ever seen. In a group of 5 stadium. They beat the shit out of us, but they were ranked 4th in the country. Kellen Moore was the deal. And then as far as like all sports go, like the WNIT championship run, we played every game at home. Toledo was a point away from losing to Elena Della Don in Delaware in the first round of that WNIT. She had 40 points, and now she's, probably a WNBA Hall of Famer. And then we went all the way and beat USC at home. That was awesome. When I was working, I would say 2015, when we took down Arkansas and Little Rock. I was filming up next to those Arkansas guys, and they were just dumbfounded that they could not punch it in the end zone. And I basically went streaking, ran my camera gear down to the stadium. I took my polo off. It was a time for sure.
So I got 2 football ones. First one was, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but 07. What year did we beat Michigan?
Oh, wait.
Okay. Yeah, when I was at the big house, went with my whole family. A couple of my friends went. Just beating Michigan in the big house was fantastic. I just enjoyed every second of it, especially, I don't know if you can see, I also support Michigan State. It was a double whammy. Just seeing Michigan lose and us beating them was great. And then also my other one was rushing the field when we beat ranked Cincinnati. Was in the student section for that game, and I got yelled at because I'm a big guy, and I was going too slow jumping over the wall, and fans behind me were yelling at me to speed up my process. I was like, listen, I'm getting over, all right? Calm down here.
But gotta watch those knees.
Yeah, I gotta watch the knees. But yeah, those are my 2 probably favorite football moments. I will say, growing up, I loved watching Keith Triplett play basketball. I loved watching him as a Rocket play. That was also enjoyable. So
Yeah. So sticking to favorite sports moments, and let's just keep it to the MAC this time, and stick it to college football. When it comes to rivalries and Toledo, who do you guys consider to be like the biggest rivals to the Toledo Rockets in the MAC?
There's only one.
Yeah,
only one. And who is that?
Those dirty birds of the South, Bowling Green.
Bowling Green.
Well, you said in the MAC, and we're out of time for Northern Illinois, so they can't even be an option. The non-rivals are gone.
As much as they want to be.
Yeah, geez, have fun in the Mountain West, freaking dorks. No, it's Bowling Green. It's that team down south. They've finally, we won 9 in a row, and they're starting to come back. They're even chipping away at some basketball games. The MAC has obviously great rivalries. You got the wagon wheel. You got Central Michigan, Western Michigan, Battle of the Bricks. But the Battle of I-75, despite maybe the worst name of any of the rivalries, it's like tied all time, like 44 to 44 to some amount of ties. So the rivalry can't really get much closer in proximity or in results. So being in the city too, it's crazy because Bowling Green fans like work with you. They commute to the city for, you see them all over. You see the stickers on the bumper stickers on the cars and flags in the neighborhood. So we're pretty close. I say on a normal day-to-day basis, we're pretty friendly. But when that week comes around, man, we hate them dirty birds. We hate those Falcons.
And I mean, everybody at this point knows the story of the rocket outside of Glass Bowl pointed right at Bowling Green. It's just there's those petty little things that keep the rivalry going.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Toledo and Bowling Green rivalry, I've heard a lot of stories about that, but could you guys take me through what really makes it a rivalry?
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned, it's just they're everywhere. They're intertwined. Recently, Bowling Green's they've got way more students than us now. Each school used to have 15 to 18,000. Now they're at near 25,000. We're stuck at 11,000. I don't blame a kid. If you want a college experience these days, you go down to the college town, and there's nothing else to do down there but go drink with your buddies and go watch a team lose a football game. Where in Toledo, there's a lot more things going on. I mean, our campus life is, we have a great campus right in the middle of the city, but there's not a bar life or anything like that. You got to go downtown for that, which downtown Toledo is phenomenal. So it's just pretty normal. If you're two schools that close together, you're going to rile up some hate. And the fact that Bowling Green's gotten a little bit better. Now this year, Eddie George, brought some enthusiasm, but that team wasn't very good. They still knocked us off. So now Toledo's going to have a new coaching staff and probably 100 new players, and we're going to have to show them what it's like to beat that team down south.
To be honest, the loss that hurt more than this year was the year that Barstool was here in Toledo, and we dropped the game we should have won. That was a brutal loss.
Well, that's why I hated divisions. Because Toledo already clinched the MAC that year, and we had a backup quarterback who was Tucker Gleason, who ended up being a starter for a few years. But that one was tough. National audience, I think there was 700,000 people watched it on TV, and then the amount of people that watched Barstool Game Day was crazy. But yeah, we lost that one. We've lost 2 in a row at home to them. That sucks.
So speaking of MAC rivalries, specifically between the Toledo Rockets and my Ohio Bobcats, what are some of your favorite memories just involving those teams on the football field?
Ooh. There hasn't been a lot of favorites lately for us. You guys have had our number down there in Athens. You beat us last year, which was a 7-7 game going into the fourth quarter, and Navarro we couldn't tackle him. You guys were amazing last year. That was one of the better MAC teams I can remember. But in general, the amount of quarterback consistency Ohio's had has been envious. You guys had the Rourkes and back to Tyler Tettleton. I mean, Ohio's always been really good. But there were some years, I think, was it 2011, when you guys were in the championship game against that one of the first really good Northern teams that started that, dynasty for NIU. Toledo felt like we were the second best team in the league, but we were stuck on Northern Illinois' side. Ohio goes and almost knocks off the Huskies, but that one kind of hurt for a Toledo fan that we didn't get a chance because we thought we were maybe the best or at least second best team in the MAC that year.
Yeah, last year too was kind of like a gauge on where Toledo was at. We thought it was going to be a close game, but if Toledo could edge it out, we were in good shape, and it kind of showed some holes that we were struggling with.
Nate, how about you?
I don't know if I necessarily have a specific memory of one. I wish we played you more consistently, I would say. Just because I know we've gone a couple year gap where we haven't even got to play down there, or you guys haven't come up to us. So I guess more consistent play I would like to see. Just because you guys are, as much as I love the back, but I'd rather play a higher quality team like Ohio than a Akron or someone that it just helps your resume more. So
yeah, we saw that this year.
Well, Ohio is like the two flagships for this league are Toledo and Ohio. They've got the best fan support, basketball and football. They're always 1 and 2 in attendance. I think nationally renowned. Ohio is always going to pick off a team. They're really hard to play at home at Peden. Toledo's hard to play at the Glass Bowl. Bowl season comes around, you know that Toledo and Ohio are always going to be ready for whoever they've got to play. So Ohio's kind of a friendly rivalry. And like growing up in Toledo, I had a lot of friends in high school that went to OU, just like Miami and just like a lot of some of the other schools. But like no one here went to Akron and Kent. Like if you wanted to go have a good time, you went down to Halloween, you went to Athens. So yeah, it's a friendly rivalry with Ohio, if you would call it that.
Yeah, I would agree with that because when I watch Toledo play, it does kind of remind me sometimes of us, of the Ohio Bobcats. And I'm pretty sure you guys would agree with me that we both don't like Miami of Ohio, right?
Yep, that's for sure.
Correct.
So with that, I would segue into this next question would be, you guys know what happened last season where there was a three-way tie for second place in the MAC standings for football. And there was like quite a bit of controversy there about the tiebreakers and how the MAC went about doing that between Ohio, Toledo, and Miami of Ohio. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Should that tiebreaker policy be changed going forward?
Well, honestly, on the scenario with Miami of Ohio too, there was two letdowns. Like we thought we were going to get a rematch with DeQuan Finn, and then that whole charade happened. And then just getting the letdown like this, just determined by some BS rule. Where Ohio beat Miami of Ohio as well. It's like, how does Miami of Ohio have the tiebreaker over both teams? And I said before we started recording, if Ohio would have got in over Toledo, that would have swallowed a lot easier than Miami of Ohio. So I don't know. They really need to revisit these rules.
Yeah, it was tough because last year was the first year without divisions, and there was 12 teams. And so then you had like a pod system. Well, this year, UMass comes in, and then there was no pod system. Like Bowling Green didn't play Northern Illinois. That was our pod, was us, Northern, and BG. So the whole schedule was just unbalanced. There's nothing that the MAC can do when that happens, but it was definitely unfortunate. And I think we went through maybe 2 full months of episodes breaking down the ways that we could get into the MAC championship. And as we ran the table in November, well, we were pretty confident. But that last week of the year came down to it, and we're like, man, Buffalo is not the team that we wanted them to be. They're not going to knock off Miami, and Miami found a freshman quarterback that was worth half a damn, and they ended up getting there. But they got blown out by Western. So at the end of the day, ball don't lie. If the MAC wants to make it right, I think that they should, maybe change some caveats in that tiebreaker, because they didn't get the best 2 teams. They didn't even get 2 of the best 3 teams in the league this year. They got number 1 and probably number 4 or 5. So.
And what do you think, Nate?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's unfortunate. At least from a Toledo standpoint, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot this season, and but it is tough. It's tough when these weird rules come into play, and look at I'm trying to keep it in the MAC, but like even like the college football playoffs, like there was controversy on who got in. You just gotta. Unfortunately, nowadays in college football, you have to can't have a down week. Gotta play your best, and that's what affected Toledo this year.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like before you literally had to go perfect if you wanted a shot at the national championship. Before they even expanded to 4 teams, but now I feel like you've given a little bit of grace period to your quote unquote Power 4 teams, and the MAC and the group of 5 schools literally have to go perfect. The pressure's on them.
So moving on to the next question, the stadium that the Toledo Rockets play in, the Glass Bowl, it has a long history. Could you guys take me through the experience of what it's like to take in a game at the Glass Bowl?
Kyle, you want to go first?
I actually think Nate would be best to start on this since
Go ahead,
he's
Nate.
been to 58 stadiums.
Okay.
He's kind of our expert on traveling around the league.
I absolutely love the Glass Bowl. I think if it's a big game, if we have a big opponent coming in, I think it's one of the best non-Power 5 stadiums you can go see a game at. Like, I've seen Miami, Florida come into the Glass Bowl. Dan mentioned Boise, Purdue, Kansas. Like, I've seen a lot of big, and it's great. We fill that stadium and it's packed and it gets loud. Students are right there on the opponent's sideline. Like, it's just fun. I have a hard time sometimes with a little bit of action, just because it does. I don't know. It's hard during the week with people. I love the national exposure, but I wish maybe weekends were a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe Friday games. Maybe we should explore Friday games. I don't know. But no, I as far as the MAC goes, I haven't got a chance to come down to Athens. I should have before I moved, but so I can't compare it there. But I would say, I mean, it's up there with any Group of Five stadium in my opinion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nate. I mean, the only one that I Group of Five stadium that I thought came close, which it was Albertson Stadium in Boise, and that was better. But it's just so damn big, and the blue turf is like a spectacle. The only stadium in the MAC I've not been to is Peden, because we haven't played you guys on a weekend in so long. So as far as the MAC goes, I think Waldo is pretty cool. Kalamazoo is a fun little town. That's an old stadium. It's got I don't know, it's charming. And the Glass Bowl is charming too. We've been so blessed with great weather. It explains part of the reason that Toledo is always, number one or number two in the MAC in attendance. We've just been blessed with weather. We've got a metropolitan area where it's easy for fans to get out on a Saturday. And then honestly, this year we only had one midweek game at home, and it was against Northern Illinois. So there was a little bit of extra intrigue there before they left the conference. And our new athletic director does a great job at promoting, certain events, far out. For about a month before the game, he was saying like Mission midweek, Toledo's going to have a good crowd, and we had over 20,000 for Northern Illinois. So I know Ohio does a really good job, especially with their students, in supporting the midweek games. But the community really showed out for our only midweek game this year, and I thought we looked pretty damn good on national television.
Any thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, if I want to compare it to like two schools within driving distance in the MAC, you got BG and Eastern. I think Glass Bowl beats the snot out of both of them, and the atmosphere and everything's just great with it. The way they shape the bowl makes it feel like a big game when that place is full, which happens a lot. Like Toledo faithful really fill the Savage, they fill Glass Bowl. Like the support for Toledo is phenomenal overall.
And a follow-up question after that: how's the tailgating? What's the tailgating experience like right before the game?
Well, I can take this one first, boys. I've only missed 2 home games since 2000. So I grew up in Lot 10, which is right next to the stadium, the open end of the stadium that has the Larimer complex there. That's where all the tailgating is, all the really good tailgating. And like I said, I've been to, now 11 of the 13 MAC teams. There's no one that tailgates as good as Toledo does in the MAC. Now, like Bowling Green's just got a field around it. So, yeah, you can pull your tractor up there. But it's one way in, one way out. It takes you about an hour and a half to get out of that damn place at the Doit. Toledo does tailgating right, especially on a Saturday in September. I mean, we've got live music. Rocket Ryan, who's one of our other hosts, I mean, he's got a freaking school bus that is decked out all Toledo. I mean, we really know how to do it well.
Which he bought that bus from Aaron Opelt, the quarterback they beat Michigan that played for Toledo. So
yeah.
The inside of it's just decked out with autographs and tables with like pictures and autograph pictures laminated. It's really cool. And he's always got a huge crowd over there. Alumni come by, former players. It's a really cool atmosphere.
Yeah, I bet you Ohio's student lot is a little bit better than ours, but until I see it, I can't really compare it right now.
Any
tailgating stories, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I attended there about the same time as Kyle, and we'd always Rocket Hall. We'd always go to just a bunch of lots, which I like. It wasn't just like confined to one area, but yeah, no, I think it is again fans for Toledo. They show up, so and there's a lot of spaces to go to. I do think it is one of the better tailgating.
Yeah, and our athletic director Brian Blair has done a great job on like bringing some more things to have fun at tailgates. They'll have live bands. They'll have different events for the kids, and it just gets people interested in out to the games.
Yeah, it's really one of the more unique places because the Glass Bowl is like in the middle of campus.
Yeah.
It's not at like a field complex, a couple of miles away like Buffalo is or Kent State or something. So kids in the dorms, like they can just walk right over and they're right outside the stadium. So you feel the energy amp up, as the day goes on. And now there's a beer garden. Like it really can't get any better. And I'll say a little secret here. The security is pretty relaxed. So when it gets cold, you got a hoodie or a jacket, you can bring in a few adult beverages and no one's gonna look at you sideways.
Just snitched on yourself, Dan.
Yeah, well, it's fine.
Well, next question would be more about conference realignment because for the longest time it did not affect the MAC, but recently it did with the loss of Northern Illinois going over to the Mountain West Conference. This is really like a definitely more serious question. Um, and we've heard rumors about like moving, from conference to conference. Even Toledo's been involved in that, possibly going to the Mountain West or possibly going to the American Conference. Uh, one by one, what are your guys' thoughts on conference realignment and how does it affect Toledo? Where does Toledo stand in that? And was there any truth at all to those rumors about Mountain West or the American Conference?
Kyle, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I think the Mountain West rumor was a little bit more solid than the American rumor. I mean, Toledo was quoted right along with Northern Illinois for a bit in rumor articles, but obviously decided to stay. Me personally, with conference realignment, it's all about money. That's the bottom line of this whole thing. And I personally hate it, just the logistics of the entire thing. I wish conferences were more regional. And honestly, if a school like Ohio or Toledo decided to leave the MAC, I would rather see them go to a conference like American. I don't want to sit there and try to go to away games on the West Coast and try to figure out the logistics of that. I want to support my Rockets, but how it affects Toledo, we've gotten lucky with Candle with stability, with the situation with NIL, and we're seeing a lot of these mid-level schools getting poached each season. They're good players. You can't keep up with the checks that are being handed out, and we've gotten very lucky with some of the NFL talent that's come through recently, and some of the players that they've been able to hang on to. So we'll see with this new coaching regime what they're able to do, but a lot of questions up in there.
No, I agree. Those Mountain West rumors were real, but once we saw who was going to go to the Pac-12, like there's no one left for like UTEP and Wyoming. That does nothing for Toledo. I think Toledo's in a pretty good standing just by the fact that they have like a metro airport in the city, which is, big which is generally smaller schools in the MAC or, smaller towns, I guess. Just like Buffalo, I think we have enough of a metropolitan area where we could support a team that was in a national, a larger span of a conference. But I've kind of like dug through like, if we get rid of a MAC schedule, if we played in the American, say, and our home schedule had no more Miami or Kent or Eastern Michigan or Bowling Green and was flipped for Charlotte, Tulsa, Navy, and Memphis, like how much more of a draw is that really going to do on an average year if we were in the American? Like, I don't think it's huge, especially because the biggest brands in that league have all been poached. Like, theoretically, Cincinnati would have been a great travel partner because we were both, city schools in the state of Ohio. Well, now that's gone. And if men's basketball is never going to get to the NCAA tournament, I don't know what our basketball program is going to do to entice another league to grab us. We've got women's basketball is phenomenal. Some of our other sports have been really good lately. And I think football has a nice national pull. But I don't know. I'm like Kyle. I love the regionality of the MAC. And I feel like if we leave or Ohio leaves, I think Ohio would maybe be suited for slightly more of a Southern conference. I think them and Marshall would be a great pair in the Sun Belt. But without us or Ohio, I think this league kind of folds. So might as well stay in it for a while and not bitch about the entire league being not good enough when we don't win it every year. So we got to win it every year to elevate ourselves, I think.
So yeah, I have a couple opinions on this. I don't know. So there's a couple of things I think need to happen. Obviously, to stay relevant in this day and age, I think we have to keep our minds open at all times. Like if an opportunity comes up, you have to be willing to jump. Also, I think these smaller conferences need to work together. Kind of like something like in agreement with the kind of something like Notre Dame and the ACC have, right? We're going to play a certain number of games. Well, maybe that benefits us. Maybe we need to set up something with the American or something with the Conference USA or Mountain West. So just something along there to where we can be like, okay, we're going to play. We're going to make sure your out of conference games are going to be against these guys and kind of get the best teams against each other, match it up a little bit, maybe preseason. I know you kind of have to schedule out a few years, but I don't know, figure something out that's going to make you should stay relevant because unfortunately the way college football is right now in the Wild West, the NIL, money's talking right now. And I don't know. I also think that these bigger schools are going to try and schedule us a lot just because they want to have a quote unquote easier schedule. We've gone in and beat them, so it's not really easier, but you know what I'm trying to say. But no, it's definitely a wild time in college football, and I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse yet. Still trying to find that out, but gotta stay open to everything. I don't think you can necessarily say no. Conference realignment is not necessary because if something comes up and makes your conference better, you gotta take it.
Well,
Right.
I mean, we had those rumors for a bit, and I hate to be this way, but I think UMass was a little bit of a flop so far, grabbing them in the MAC. But for a bit, we were here in Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee, and we just played Western Kentucky 2 years in a row, and phenomenal football program. And the fan base was great. We were engaged with another podcast for both years, and it was a lot of fun. And it would have been really cool to see them join the MAC. I think that would have helped the conference overall.
Yeah, and I think geographically that made sense still. So I agree.
Right.
I don't know, but if you go down there and you experience the Buckies and Bowling Green, Kentucky as a town, I mean, they really don't fit with the Mid-American Conference footprint, at least not with Toledo. I mean, the only like Southern school I would say that the MAC has is, I mean, you get south of Fort Wayne, like Muncie, Indiana kind of feels like Indiana kind of feels like the South. I would say they're the only program that feels like, kind of like the Sun Belt does, or, Western Kentucky and Middle or in Conference USA. But even I don't think they like their league very much. But they for certain hate the state of Ohio. I don't know what the animosity is towards us, but it's real weird. They're just like, man, I don't like them boys up north. And you're like, geez, all right. But great programs. I think that there's options. If you take the best 3 or 4 schools from every group of 5 league, I think we could make one hell of a master league that would be, considered basically a power 6. Because this Mountain West, that all those schools that just moved to the Pac-12, they made a pretty damn good league. But I think east of the Mississippi, you take us in Memphis and Ohio and Western Kentucky and ECU. I mean, I think we have a real good shot to contend with not just the Pac-12, but even like the ACC and the Big 12.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also, I think Nate, he hit the nail on the head about, you got to stay open-minded. You got to, keep your options open. And, with the MAC, I get concerned about its long-term future, where it's going. And I'm hoping that, MAC leadership will open up and just, really look around as to what they can do to add, certain schools here and there, in the future. And I just hope they're wise about it. That's all I'm saying about that. So, I mean, for us, I want to stay together. I want to stay in the same conference as Toledo. I want there to be like stability, and the Max Media deal. That's coming up in 2027. So there's got to be like make or break going on there. So
Yeah, I think the correct answer is if we could go in the Wayback Machine and make, 15 10-team leagues, and we could shave off Ball State and UMass and just keep 10-team MAC, right in the center there, it'd be a great league.
yep. So moving on to college sports, college football in general as a whole. Um, what do you guys think of just the future of the sport of college football and sports in general, with governance, with stuff like NIL, transfer portal? Where do you guys see this going within the next few years? Because we're hearing a lot of stuff going on from, especially from the power conferences, what they want to do with the sport.
Kyle, you want to go? Or
Yeah, I guess. I've been going line leader the whole time. So I could honestly see a couple of hypothetical things going on that's not like completely crazy, like SEC and Big Ten talking about splitting off and doing their own super conference, essentially being a semi-pro for NFL. Um, I could see them putting contracts in place for players to where maybe it's a 2-year contract. And, essentially if a player's coming in from high school, one of those years is going to be a red shirt, but at least you get 1 year out of that player to maybe change their mind and start to fall in love with the school instead of maybe chasing some money. Right now, I'm a little worried that with the amount of transferring going on, maybe players are not being coached up like they used to, switching schemes constantly. Like they may be a little too young to be trying to learn a new playbook every season, like some of the journeymen in NFL. But the transfer portal, I could see honestly balancing out a little bit. We're still in the early stages of this, and nobody knows what the future is going to hold. And I think there's going to be a lot of regulations being put in place moving forward. This idea, I think, was released half cooked, in my opinion.
So those are some good points, Kyle. I like the 2-year thing. I think John Calipari just came out, Arkansas's basketball coach, and said, you get one free transfer. Sometimes the spot's not right for you. And then the next one, if your coach leaves, sure, if the coach is allowed to leave, you're allowed to leave. If not, you should pretty much be locked in. You made the decision. This portal stuff, this calendar has been atrocious lately. And we are seeing it balance out as far as play on the field. Now these power teams are just taking your best junior and senior, and the group of 5 guys are going to end up having top 25 high school classes now, because none of those guys are going to play at Ohio State or wherever right away, because all they want is juniors and seniors that have already been developed. So, no, it's for sure a problem. I think that Toledo, as far as NIL money goes, is in a pretty good spot for this league, at least as far as football goes. And we know that some of the other schools are ponying up in other sports, like Akron and Kent are definitely basketball first. I think Akron has a guard who was at Ohio State who was making $400K a year. That's a lot. So Akron's going to be in the mid-major landscape for basketball. And if that's where they want to put their money, fine. But they've definitely fallen behind in football. So that's just another reason that Toledo and Ohio should stay at the top in football for years to come.
yeah, I've always been a proponent of players should get some compensation. These networks and stuff make so much money that the players deserve some kind of profit. I don't necessarily think – I definitely agree with the contracts. I don't necessarily think you should be able to put a cap on things like some people have said, but if somebody wants to pay somebody a crazy amount to play football, sure, go ahead. But, I do agree with contracts. It's getting to a point – you had a kid who just signed with the school try and leave for another school,
Washington.
It's just crazy. It's nuts. But
Yeah.
and then as far as the transfer portal, I kind of agree. Danny kind of said that you have to limit it to some extent. Especially just to get the feel of college football. I feel like to stay, because there's kids now that the rivalries is we talked about BG and stuff. With all these kids coming and going, you don't really get that. You could lose that feel. I feel like players like, oh, well, I've never played against this school. I don't have any bad blood between them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like to keep the sport pure, you have to do something as far as the transfer portal. But I also don't want it going back to where it was. Where I think it was a kid who was on Illinois before all this transfer portal stuff was trying to transfer closer to home, and it was like a smaller school, and the NCAA denied him
I remember that.
I don't even remember what the reason was. He was trying to, and
It was a family member that had cancer.
Yeah, it was a family member that was sick, and they denied him the transfer. And so I don't even know if he ended up finishing playing college football at Illinois or not, but it just was like why? What was the denial for? I don't know. So I do think there needs to be a limit on it. I don't know what the sweet spot is. Maybe the contracts, would help if you have to be there 2 years, or if your coach. I do agree if a coach leaves, like that whole program's going to shift. If you don't fit in that, I agree you should be able to go. Coaches can leave freely. You should be able to leave freely if a coach leaves. So, but yeah, it's tough. It's a tough way to navigate, but something does need to change. You can't just have the Wild West like it is.
I think there was a lot of perfect storms this year. We talked about one in the MAC with the tiebreaker situation, but the college football playoff with Notre Dame being left out and throwing a hissy fit at that point, and then 2 Group of 5 schools in. But it's just I just think we're seeing the cracks where some of these things just weren't planned out, and it's a huge problem when you have millions and millions of dollars of revenue coming in.
They keep changing this stuff too frequently too. I mean, they just negotiated if they wanted to go to a 2014 playoff like this week, and like we've only had 12 for a couple of years. Like, there's going to be talk about should the Group of 5 break off and have their own playoff. It's like, give us 10 years of data that we can't compete in the real playoff before we make another rash decision. Like, it's all about TV money and all this crap, and I'm kind of here for spirit of the game. Like, look at the NFL. Do we have the 4 biggest brands with the Broncos and Seahawks and Rams in it right now? Like, no, they found their way to the Final Four, and that's just how the sport should work. I don't know why that we're so worried about TV numbers in college football over just the fact that you won all your games, you deserve to be in.
Well, I mean, to build on Nate's point about rival games in college, I think indirectly it affects the players carrying, like Nate said, to where in the NFL, it's the fan bases that care about the rivals. It's not the players, because at the end of the day, they're like, I might be playing with you next year. And on top of that, we're both trying to get money to put food on our table. And now this is the landscape of college football.
I'm trying not to stray from the MAC, but this was kind of a college football kind of like it made me feel like the sport's not dead yet. Sorry for leaving the MAC here a little bit, but I went to the Thanksgiving weekend this past year. I went to the New Mexico versus San Diego State football game, and the winner had a chance to go to the championship that week. And New Mexico beat them for the first time in, I think they said, like 20-some years. And the fans there were just so like emotional. We rushed the field. We were down with the players. The players were just so like humble. And I think to myself, like, this is what college football is about. You know what I mean? Like, just that like emotion and stuff like that. And people, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you lose that a little bit with the bigger conferences. And I hope it kind of brings itself back together. But I don't know. That's why I love college football. Just that atmosphere, that like sense of like community, that like just that emotion. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, I mean, in summary of this, I've had this feeling for the last few years about governance, how conferences are running the show. I think in particular the power conferences, more specifically the Big Ten, the SEC. I just think they're out of touch with what's really going on, and that they're not really in this for the betterment of the sport, but they're more in it for themselves only. And I think that's a big problem. So, yeah, you need to be in it for everybody, not just for one group or 2 groups. So, anyway, to close off this interview, let's get back to the Midnight Blue and Gold Launchpad. All of you guys can answer this in your own way. What advice would you guys have for anybody that's wanting to start their own podcast, whether it's about sports or anything else that they like to do? What advice would you guys have for them?
I can start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it from like the engineering side of things. Since I mix everything gets uploaded through me. Audio quality is super important when you have a podcast. because you are the only thing in people's ears, your voice. So don't be afraid to invest in a decent microphone. Take some time to learn a few things about editing on YouTube. There's so much information out there. But at the end of the day, you're not a band. You don't have other instruments to layer in some of your mistakes or some of your bad audio quality. It's just you in the listener's ears. And if you're a harsh quality, the chances of them retuning in is pretty slim.
That's a good answer from that perspective for sure. I would say just if you have an idea, just do it. Put it up online. Who cares if there's 3 viewers or not? I mean, that's what I did when I was young and I wanted to talk about the group of 5. It just got me familiar with the landscape. You start following things a little bit more. And then little did I know, 6 years later, I can still talk about Toledo with the best of them. And I found a space for me to continue to do that. So just if you have an idea, don't sit on it forever. Just get on Instagram or TikTok and just do it. And you never know what you'll find or who you'll connect with. Because I guarantee you there's people that share the exact same interests, no matter how odd they are, as you do. So just have fun with it. It's not that serious. We all make mistakes talking on here all the time, or you trip over your words and you say something stupid. Oh well, at least we tried it. We're doing it. So have fun with it.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. Just try it. Just enjoy it too. Just be genuine. Just be real. I mean, people love to hear other people's opinions. I love to hear other fans' opinions and see what they think and get other people's perspective. Just listening to it, and I enjoy listening to other teams and hearing their thoughts on things because you hear your team's thoughts and you're like, oh well, it's all the same. And then you hear somebody else who's like, wow, I never thought of that. So yeah, just being real and genuine and just listening. That's what I like. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. And I follow so many like the SEC has like a locked on podcast where they have a representative from every school. They're all just the same talking heads. They all probably work in a radio studio. They get field level passes. Occasionally a guy will be really good at, reading a defense and having like a lot of scheme stuff to talk about. But that stuff's boring to me. I mean, I never played football. I played football in 5th and 6th grade. Like, I want to hear about what uniforms you're wearing, who's talking smack before the game, what the tailgate scene is like. That's what gets me going. And if there were more schools that had like a dedicated, like just a live show from your tailgate every week, I'd be all into that. So yeah, bring something different too. If you think outside the box, just put it out there. Someone will follow you and be interested in it.
And you just never know who you're going to connect with along the way, too. I mean, there's people I've talked to and we've interviewed on our podcast that I'm like, I never thought I'd get to meet this person. So, yeah, definitely.
We would have never met Steven if we didn't start this podcast. So
that's right. Exactly.
Tons of perks, tons of great people to meet.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to network with.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. One more thing about that is that, we talked about other MAC markets, other, MAC fans, wanting to get into this. As I truly do encourage other MAC fans to start their own podcasts, and we should do whatever we can to help them out, like Western Michigan fans, Eastern Michigan fans, whoever it may be. If they come to us and ask for help, we should just give them help and just help them get going. So that's just because it's really a special thing when you have a podcast like this. So
absolutely agree.
Yeah. Shout out to the College Huddle that kind of was on the forefront of making all this stuff possible. I mean, I feel like we're not that interactive with the community, but we're in a league where there's only so many people to talk to, and that sucks. But when we've had the chance, we've been on Mississippi State's podcast or the Ohio podcast or, Ball State of the Union. Like there's a few that we have been able to get in touch with, or, Alex at the MSC. Like, it's been great to kind of combine minds and put in a new perspective. To me, like, God forbid Bowling Green ever gets a podcast, we'd probably have an episode every week with whoever was running that thing just to talk shit for a whole week going up to the game. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So with that, that concludes our interview here for Stephen Interviews You, episode number 22. I would like to thank all of you guys, Kyle Smith, Nathan Kresge, and Dan Savage. Thank you all for joining me for this episode. And by the way, guys, for all of you listening, I will attach a link to in the description box below, so you guys can check out the Midnight Blue and Gold Launchpad, their podcast. Anything you guys need to know about the Toledo Rockets, any of their sports programs, just feel free to click on that link and just check out these guys. They do great stuff. I've watched plenty of your guys' videos. You do a great job, all of you. You do a great job. So with that, thanks again, all of you, for listening to this, and we will be back with more interview-related content soon enough. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.